8:41 p.m. The call came through my husband's name was on the victim list from a parking lot assault, but security footage showed him dining with an unfamiliar woman across town at that exact moment. The detective needed me to confirm his identity. The restaurant had their anniversary table reserved for two. Two truths existed simultaneously, and one of them was a deliberate lie. I didn't cry. I opened my notebook, began counting the deceptions, and scheduled the day I'd collect what was owed. My name is Riley Hart, and I've spent the last 3 years cataloging other people's crises at Northbridge Family Services, a nonprofit that helps families navigate their worst moments. 34 years old, methodical by nature, trained to spot patterns in chaos. I never imagined I'd need those skills to dissect my own marriage. That Friday evening started like countless others. The scent of garlic and rosemary filled our kitchen. I'd made Marcus's favorite roasted chicken, the one recipe his mother had taught me before she passed. The house felt unusually quiet, that specific kind of silence that settles when someone who should be there isn't. Marcus had texted at 6:15, watching the game with the guys. Don't wait up. His investment firm, Harborline Capital, had been pushing him harder lately, or so he claimed. The flexible schedule he'd negotiated seemed to flex only toward evenings away. I was clearing the untouched place setting when my phone rang at 8:41. Detective Nora Alvarez from the Northbridge Police Department spoke in that careful tone officers use when delivering bad news. Mrs. Hart, your husband Marcus Hale is listed as a victim in an assault at Riverside Commons parking structure. We need you to come to Oakview Medical for identification. The plate slipped from my hand but didn't break. Strange. The details you remember? I started? He left against medical advice, but we need to verify some things. There are inconsistencies. Inconsistencies. That word would define everything that followed. My phone showed Marcus's location as unavailable. He'd turned off sharing 2 months ago, claiming it drained his battery. But as I grabbed my keys, a notification popped up our joint credit card had just been charged at Auberge Row, an upscale restaurant downtown, at 8:32 p.m., 9 minutes before the detective's call. The drive to Oakview Medical took 18 minutes. I counted them. The fluorescent lights in the emergency department made everyone look suspicious or guilty. Detective Alvarez met me in the waiting area, early 40s, sharp eyes that had seen too many lies to believe in coincidences anymore. Mrs. Hart, thank you for coming. Here's what we know: a man was attacked in the Riverside Commons structure around 8:15. He had your husband's driver's license in his wallet, but when we ran the security footage, she showed me grainy black and white video on her tablet, a figure stumbling through the parking garage, clutching his ribs. The build was wrong, too thin, shoulders too narrow. This wasn't Marcus. That's not my husband, I said quietly. We know. The victim gave us vague answers, seemed disoriented, then left before we could investigate further. But here's what's interesting. She swiped to another image, a still from a traffic camera. This is your husband's Audi, parked outside Auberge Row restaurant at 7:58 p.m. The math was simple. Marcus couldn't be in two places simultaneously. I need to make a call, I told the detective. I stepped outside and dialed Marcus. He answered on the third ring, background noise muffled, like he was cupping the phone. Hey babe, game's getting good. Everything okay? Where are you exactly? I kept my voice level, a skill honed from years of crisis management. Tommy's place, told you. Why? No reason, just wondering if you wanted me to save you some dinner. Nah, we ordered pizza. Don't wait up. 3 lies in 10 seconds. Tommy was his supposed basketball buddy. I hung up and walked back to Detective Alvarez. I want to help, I told her, but I need to handle this carefully. She studied me, recognizing something, maybe the particular stillness that comes when rage crystallizes into purpose. We're opening a fraud investigation, the victim using your husband's ID, the timing, the restaurant charge it suggests insurance fraud, but we need more. I thought about the folder I'd glimpsed on Marcus's laptop last week, labeled Risk Pool. I'd assumed it was work-related. Give me 72 hours, I said. There's a gala next week, the Atlas Fund event. Everyone from Harborline will be there. If Marcus is involved in something, that's where you'll want to be. Alvarez handed me her card. Be careful. People who stage crimes are calculating risks. Don't become one. Driving home, I called the restaurant. The hostess was cheerful, helpful. Oh yes, Mr. Hale's table for two. They're still here, actually. Would you like me to? No, thank you. Just checking they got the reservation. The window table, as requested. He noted it was a special occasion. Special occasion. My wedding ring caught the streetlight as I turned into our driveway. The house stood dark except for the porch light I'd left on. Inside, Marcus's laptop sat closed on his desk. I had 6 hours before he'd return, maintaining whatever fiction he'd crafted. I didn't cry. I opened my notebook and began creating my own timeline. If my husband wanted to live multiple lives, I'd map every one of them. Then I'd collapse them all at once, publicly, irrevocably. At the moment, it would cost him most. The garlic and rosemary scent had faded. The kitchen felt like a crime scene where the victim was still walking around, unaware they were already dead. The credit card statement loaded on my laptop screen like evidence in a murder trial. Auberge Row, 8:32 p.m. 1 bottle of Chassagne Montrachet, 2 tasting menus, a dessert wine. The receipt details I accessed through our online banking painted an intimate dinner. The transaction note read, Table 12 window anniversary. Anniversary. Ours was in March, 4 months away. I called Auberge Row at 11:15, after Marcus had slipped into bed claiming exhaustion from too many beers with the boys. The night manager was accommodating when I explained I was Mrs. Hale, worried about a fraudulent charge. Oh no, Mrs. Hale, I can assure you Mr. Hale was definitely here. He's one of our regular guests. He specifically requested the window table, said it was a special celebration with Ms. Lydia. Lydia. A name that meant nothing and everything. I see. And this Ms. Lydia, is she also a regular? They've dined with us 3 times this month. Would you like me to check if there's an issue with the charge? No, that's quite all right. Thank you. 3 times this month, while I'd been eating takeout at my desk, processing other families' disasters. Saturday morning, Marcus left for his golf game at 7. I waited 10 minutes, then connected my backup drive to his laptop. The password hadn't changed, still his college basketball number and his mother's birth year, sentimental and sloppy, a combination that would cost him. The risk pool folder required a second password. I tried variations of the first, then thought about Marcus's ego. I typed Alpha Returns 2024. The folder opened. Inside were spreadsheets that told a story of systematic fraud, dates labeled incident reports, aligned with small, irregular transfers to something called Marrow Consultancy LLC. The amounts varied $8,000 here, $12,000 there, but always under the federal reporting threshold. Each incident corresponded with an insurance claim through Harborline's corporate policy. I photographed everything with my phone, then plugged in a USB drive I'd bought with cash that morning. As the files copied, I searched his email for Lydia Arnett, external crisis management consultant. The emails were professionally worded but scheduled at suspicious hours, one from last Tuesday at 11:43 p.m. The documentation for tonight's arrangement is complete, same protocol as discussed. Tuesday night, when Marcus had claimed a client emergency, I cross-referenced the incidents with Marcus's calendar. Every single accident happened when he had an alibi elsewhere, always with witnesses, always documented. The pattern was elegant in its simplicity. Someone else takes the fall using his ID. He files the insurance claim. The money flows through Marrow Consultancy, and Lydia helps manage any complications. The USB finished copying. I returned everything to its original state, cleared the browser history, and began my own investigation into Lydia Arnett. LinkedIn showed a polished professional, early 30s, with a background in reputation management and crisis mitigation. Her client list included several financial firms, Though Harborline wasn't mentioned, her photos showed sharp cheekbones, calculated smile, the kind of woman who'd never eaten a meal without considering its strategic value. Detective Alvarez answered on the second ring when I called from my car, parked outside a coffee shop for the free Wi-Fi. "I have information," I said, "but I need to control how this unfolds." "I'm listening. The Atlas Fund Gala is in 6 days. Everyone who matters to Marcus will be there, his bosses, clients, the entire Harborline hierarchy. That's where I want this to happen. This isn't a revenge movie, Mrs. Hart? No, it's better. It's a public audit. I'll have everything documented by then, the false claims, the money trail, Lydia Arnett's involvement. But if we move too soon, he'll lawyer up, spin it, minimize damage. At the gala, in front of everyone he needs to impress, he won't have that luxury." There was a pause. "You're asking me to wait on an active fraud investigation. I'm offering you a gift-wrapped conspiracy with multiple defendants and documented evidence. 6 days, detective. Then you get everything, including Marcus's full cooperation, which I guarantee he'll provide when faced with the alternative." "And what's the alternative?" "Complete destruction of everything he values. You'll arrest a broken man eager to deal, not a confident executive thinking he can beat the system." Another pause. "6 days, but I want regular updates. And if he runs, he won't. The gala is his moment to shine, to announce the new fund he's been developing. He'd never miss it." I spent the afternoon at the library, using their computers to research Marrow Consultancy. It was registered in Delaware, of course, with Lydia Arnett as the sole director. The business address traced back to a virtual office. Classic shell company structure. That evening, Marcus came home with flowers, gilt roses. I'd call them if I still cared about the language of our marriage. Over dinner, he talked about the gala, how important it was for his career trajectory. "You'll be there, right?" he asked, reaching for my hand across the table. "I need my beautiful wife beside me." "Wouldn't miss it," I said, squeezing back with calculated pressure. "I've already bought a new dress." "That's my girl." "His girl." I smiled and poured him more wine, watching him relax into his assumption of my ignorance. In 6 days, he'd learned that his girl had been keeping her own books, and the audit was overdue. The risk pool folder became my obsession. Each night after Marcus fell asleep, I studied the patterns like a forensic accountant. The spreadsheets revealed a choreographed dance of fraud 17 incidents over 14 months, each generating between $15,000 and $35,000 in insurance payouts. The money flowed to Marrow Consultancy, then disappeared into what I assumed were offshore accounts. Wednesday brought a breakthrough. Hidden in a subfolder labeled Protocol Docs was correspondence about witness reliability and claim verification shortcuts. One email from Lydia, dated 3 weeks ago, outlined their system. The substitute carries minimal ID, claims confusion after the incident, leaves before thorough questioning. Your presence elsewhere remains documented. Clean separation, minimal exposure. The substitute. The man who'd carried Marcus's license that night. I searched traffic cameras through a public records request site, claiming a hit-and-run investigation for insurance purposes. The clerk was sympathetic. Everyone hates insurance companies. The footage confirmed Marcus's Audi at Auberge Row from 7:51 to 10:23 p.m., time-stamped, indisputable. Thursday afternoon, while Marcus attended a client meeting, I visited Auberge Row in person. The lunch manager remembered the couple clearly. "Mr. Hale always requests table 12, she said, checking their reservation system. "He's very particular about it. Ms. Arnett prefers the salmon, no butter. They're quite charming together." "How long have they been coming here?" "Oh, about 6 months. They celebrated something special recently. Mr. Hale ordered our best champagne. Said it was a milestone worth marking." A milestone. While I'd been planning our actual anniversary dinner, I photographed the reservation history she'd pulled up 17 dinners, always table 12, always during Marcus's supposed work emergencies or boys' nights. The receipts showed a progression professional dinners evolving into intimate celebrations. The latest charges included items like lover's dessert plate and romantic atmosphere package. That evening, I contacted a forensic accountant through Northbridge Family Services. We kept a list for divorce proceedings. Sandra Vega agreed to review the documents pro bono after I explained the situation. "This is sophisticated," she said after 2 hours with the files. "But also arrogant. They're barely covering their tracks, probably because they assume no one's looking. Can you trace where the money goes after Marrow Consultancy? Give me 48 hours. I have some contacts who specialize in Delaware shells." Friday morning brought another gift. Marcus left his phone while showering, and facial recognition unlocked it. He'd set it up to recognize me for emergencies. His text thread with Lydia was mostly deleted, but the photo archive told stories, pictures from restaurants, her hand wearing a bracelet I'd never seen, champagne glasses touching. One selfie from 2 weeks ago showed them at a hotel bar in Chicago when Marcus had supposedly been at a regulatory conference. I forwarded everything to my cloud storage, then found something worse in his Notes app, Exit Strategy Timeline. It outlined a plan to leave Harborline within 6 months, start his own fund with Lydia as COO, funded by what he called risk mitigation reserves. Our joint assets were listed under temporary encumbrances. 7 years of marriage reduced to a line item. Detective Alvarez called that afternoon. The victim from the parking garage we found him, Thomas Brennan, small-time operative who takes falls for insurance money. "He's agreed to testify in exchange for immunity." "Perfect timing." "You sound calm for someone whose world is falling apart." "My world isn't falling apart." "Detective, I'm conducting a controlled demolition." Saturday, 2 days before the gala, Sandra Vega called with her findings. The money trail led to accounts in the Cayman Islands, then Cyprus. "There's roughly $800,000 accumulated," she said. "They're planning something bigger this seed money for a major fraud, probably targeting Harborline's client funds." I spent that evening creating my presentation. 30 slides that told the story in brutal clarity, timestamps, photographs, money transfers, emails, each slide built on the last, creating an inescapable narrative. Marcus wasn't just unfaithful, he was a criminal who'd used our marriage as cover for his crimes. Sunday night, Marcus modeled his tuxedo for the gala. "Oh, how do I look?" he asked, adjusting his cufflinks, the ones I'd given him last Christmas. "Like a man with everything to lose," I said. He laughed, thinking it was a compliment about his success. "That's the plan. Tomorrow night changes everything." "Yes," I agreed, zipping my presentation onto a thumb drive disguised as lipstick. "Everything." He kissed my forehead absently, already mentally at the gala, probably imagining Lydia in whatever dress she'd chosen. I wondered if she knew about the investigation, if she'd sensed the walls closing in, or if she, like Marcus, believed their clever little scheme was invisible. I uploaded the presentation to 3 cloud servers and emailed Detective Alvarez the access links with a timer if I didn't check in by 9 p.m. On gala night, everything would auto-forward to the FBI's Financial Crimes Division and the Wall Street Journal. The stage was set, props in place, the audience gathering. Tomorrow, Marcus would discover that his wife had learned to play multiple roles too, and mine came with evidence, handcuffs, and a finale no one would forget. The Bellwater Hotel's ballroom glowed with calculated elegance, crystal chandeliers casting golden light over Boston's financial elite. The Atlas Fund Gala was Harborline Capital's crown jewel event, where deals were sealed with handshakes and careers were made or destroyed over champagne toasts. I arrived at 7:15, 30 minutes after Marcus, wearing a black Valentino gown that cost more than I'd normally spend in a year. Tonight warranted the investment. The dress hugged my figure perfectly, commanding attention I'd need for what was coming. My lipstick concealed the thumb drive. My clutch held a voice recorder, and I'd sewn a tiny GPS tracker into my wrap, every tool for the performance ahead. Marcus stood near the bar, laughing with senior partners, his hand occasionally touching the small of Lydia Arnett's back. She wore emerald green, a shade that complemented her auburn hair. They looked good together, I had to admit. like a couple from a financial magazine's lifestyle section. Riley, Marcus called out when he spotted me, his smile perfectly calibrated. There's my beautiful wife. I glided over, kissing his cheek while memorizing Lydia's subtle flinch. Darling, Ms. Arnett, lovely to finally meet you. Lydia, please, she said, extending a manicured hand. Marcus speaks so highly of you. Does he? I smiled, shaking her hand while discreetly attaching an AirTag to her clutch's outer pocket, a move I'd practiced 50 times. All good things, I hope. Detective Alvarez was already inside, posing as a representative from Conway Insurance. 2 FBI financial crime agents mingled as potential investors. The hotel's AV team, whom I'd met with yesterday afternoon, stood ready at their station. 8 o'clock. Marcus took the stage for his presentation about Harborline's new emerging markets fund. I watched him command the room, his confidence absolute, his delivery flawless. He spoke about trust, transparency, and fiduciary responsibility without a trace of irony. Integrity isn't just our foundation, he declared to applause. It's our covenant with every client who believes in our vision. I activated my phone's recording app. During the break at 8:30, I approached the podium. Marcus, that was wonderful. Though I'm curious about something. Not now. Riley, I'm networking. Just a quick question. About that terrible incident at Riverside Commons last Friday. The police called they found the victim. The champagne glass in his hand stilled. Behind him, Lydia's eyes sharpened. What victim? What are you talking about? The assault in the parking garage. 8:15 p. Your name was on the victim list. I kept my voice light, conversational, but loud enough for the partners nearby to hear. Strange, though, since you were having dinner at Auberge Row at that exact time. There must be some confusion, Marcus said, his executive smile not quite reaching his eyes. Oh, there's definitely confusion. See, someone was carrying your driver's license, got attacked, filed an insurance claim, but you were at table 12 with Lydia, weren't you? Your anniversary dinner. The word anniversary landed like a blade. Several heads turned. Lydia stepped back slightly, creating distance. Riley, perhaps we should discuss this privately, Marcus said through gritted teeth. Privately, but you just gave such a beautiful speech about transparency. I touched his arm gently. I'm just trying to understand how you could be in 2 places at once. It's quite the magic trick. Warren Gladstone, Harborline's managing partner, approached with concern. Everything all right here. Perfect timing, Mr. Gladstone, I said warmly. I was just asking Marcus about his remarkable ability to be both a victim of assault and dining at Auberge Row simultaneously. The police are quite puzzled. Police. Gladstone's voice dropped an octave. Marcus laughed, forced and hollow. A misunderstanding. Someone had a fake ID or something. Oh, it wasn't fake, I said, pulling out my phone. I have the police report right here, and the restaurant footage, and the credit card receipts. Would you like to see them? I thought transparency was your covenant. The circle of listeners widened. Phones appeared in hands. Subtle recording beginning. Marcus's jaw tightened as he recognized the trap closing. We should take this somewhere private, he said, gripping my elbow. No, I said clearly, stepping back. Your investors deserve transparency, don't they? Especially about where their money really goes. Tell me, what exactly is Marrow Consultancy? Lydia's face went pale. Marcus's grip on his champagne glass tightened until his knuckles went white. I don't know what you're talking about. No, then let me refresh your memory. 17 fraudulent insurance claims, $800,000 funneled through shell companies. A systematic scheme you called, what was it, risk mitigation reserves. The ballroom had gone quiet except for the ambient music. All eyes fixed on us, the kind of attention Marcus had always craved, now turned poisonous. You're confused, Marcus said, his voice taking on an edge of desperation. You don't understand how finance works. You're right. I don't understand how you sleep at night, but I do understand evidence. I raised my hand toward the AV booth. And I have so much to share. The main screen flickered to life behind Marcus, displaying the first slide of my presentation, his driver's license photo next to Thomas Brennan's mugshot, titled, "The Two Marcus Hales, a Case Study in Insurance Fraud." The gasp from the crowd was audible. Marcus spun around, his face draining of color as he saw his scheme laid bare in 40-inch clarity. The screen commanded the room with surgical precision. Slide 2 security footage from Riverside Commons. Timestamp 8:15 showing Thomas Brennan stumbling through the parking garage. Marcus's driver's license visible in his hand as he spoke to police. "That's not me," Marcus said to the crowd, his executive timbre cracking. "No," I agreed, advancing the presentation. "You were here." Slide 3 Auberge Rose exterior camera, 8:16 p.m. Marcus's Audi prominently parked. Interior footage showing Marcus and Lydia raising champagne glasses. Timestamp 8:32 p.m. The crowd's murmur grew louder. Warren Gladstone's face had turned the color of aged limestone. Slide 4. The risk pool, spreadsheet. Dates of incidents aligned with deposits to Marrow Consultancy LLC. Each row highlighted in red, showing the pattern 17 incidents, 17 payments, all under federal reporting thresholds. "This is taken out of context," Marcus stammered, but his voice barely carried. "Context." I clicked forward. "Let's add some." Slide 5. Email from Marcus to Lydia. Dated 3 weeks ago. "Brennan knows his role. Have him carry the duplicate ID. I'll establish alibi at Auberge. Standard protocol for claim processing." Lydia backed away from Marcus as if he were radioactive. Several Harborline executives had their phones out, likely calling their lawyers. Slide 6. The Marrow Consultancy Incorporation documents. Lydia Arnett, listed as director. The virtual office address. The Delaware Registration Classic Shell Company structure displayed in damning detail. "You went through my personal files," Marcus said, attempting outrage. "That's illegal." "No more illegal than insurance fraud," Detective Alvarez said, stepping forward with her badge visible. "Or money laundering, or conspiracy." The revelation that law enforcement was already present sent another wave through the crowd. Someone dropped a champagne glass. It shattered musically against the marble floor. I continued relentlessly. Slide 7 bank transfers from Harborline's operational accounts to Marrow, disguised as consulting fees for crisis management services. Each transfer dated within days of an insurance payout. "Those were legitimate business expenses," Lydia said, finding her voice, but it came out thin, unconvincing. Slide 8A photo from Marcus's phone, him and Lydia at the Chicago hotel bar, dated during his supposed regulatory conference. Her hand on his chest, his wedding ring conspicuously absent. "Affairs aren't crimes," Marcus said desperately. "No," I agreed, "but they establish pattern and motive." Slide 9. The audio waveform appeared on screen. I pressed play on my phone, connected to the room's sound system. Marcus's voice filled the ballroom. "Just let Brennan take the fall. He knows the drill. 20 grand for a few bruises and confusion. I'll be at dinner airtight alibi. You handle the claim paperwork through your channels." Lydia's voice responded. "The insurance investigator might ask questions." "They never do if the paperwork's clean. We've done this 16 times. I stopped the recording. The ballroom was tomb silent except for the air conditioning's whisper. Slide 10 Thomas Brennan's signed confession, immunity agreement attached, detailing his role as the professional victim in 17 staged incidents. Warren Gladstone stepped forward. "Marcus, tell me this is some kind of mistake." She doesn't understand." Slide 11. The exit strategy document from Marcus's Notes app. Harborline assets to be liquidated within 6 months. New fund launch with L. Arnett as COO. Initial capitalization via risk mitigation reserves. R. Hart listed as temporary encumbrance resolve by Q2. I heard my own sharp intake of breath. even though I'd seen it before. Hearing it read aloud in this room, before these witnesses, made it real in a different way. Temporary encumbrance, I repeated. 7 years of marriage, a temporary encumbrance to be resolved. Slide 12. The money trail Sandra Vega had uncovered. Cayman Islands accounts, Cyprus transfers, $800,000 accumulated. Each transaction meticulously documented, the forensic accounting brutal in its clarity. This is circumstantial. Marcus tried one last time, but even he didn't believe it. Final slide. A single question in bold letters. How many clients' funds were next? The FBI agents moved through the crowd, positioning themselves at the exits. Detective Alvarez spoke into her radio, calling for additional units. Mr. Hale, Ms. Arnett, we need you to come with us for questioning, Alvarez announced formally. But I wasn't done. I pulled out the voice recorder from my clutch, holding it up. One more thing. Tonight, before his speech, Marcus told me this was the night that would change everything. He was right. I played the recording from earlier, Marcus practicing his speech in the bathroom, not knowing I was outside. After tonight, we execute phase 2. Lydia's got 3 more claims ready to process. By year end, we'll have enough to disappear. Let Riley have her nonprofit job and her righteousness. She'll never see it coming. The recording ended. Marcus stood frozen, his world collapsing in real time before 200 witnesses who controlled Boston's financial landscape. Every phone camera captured his destruction. By morning, it would be everywhere. LinkedIn, Twitter, the financial press. Lydia tried to leave quietly, but the FBI agents blocked her path. Ms. Arnett, you'll need to come as well. I walked to Marcus, close enough that only he could hear. You were right about one thing. I never saw it coming, but once I did, I made sure everyone else would see it too. Marcus grabbed my wrist and pulled me toward the service corridor, away from the cameras and chaos. His grip was desperate, not violent. The clutch of a drowning man who'd just realized the depth of the water. We need to talk, he hissed, guiding me into an empty conference room adjacent to the ballroom. Through the walls, we could hear the crescendo of scandal, voices raised in disbelief and damage control. There's nothing to discuss, I said, extracting my wrist from his grip. Riley, please. He loosened his bow tie, that confident executive facade crumbling. You don't understand what you've done. These people, Gladstone, the board, they'll destroy us both. No, Marcus, they'll destroy you. I'm just the whistleblower wife who discovered her husband's crimes. He paced the small room, running his hands through his carefully styled hair. I can fix this. Tell them it was a misunderstanding. That you were emotional, confused. Like you told them I didn't understand finance. I have $2 million in offshore accounts they don't know about, he said suddenly, the words tumbling out. We can leave tonight, start over in Switzerland or Singapore. You wanted to travel. Remember, we talked about it on our honeymoon. We talked about a lot of things on our honeymoon. Honesty, children, growing old together. You remember those conversations. He moved closer, trying to summon the charm that had once worked so effortlessly. Riley, I know I hurt you. The thing with Lydia, it wasn't supposed to happen. It was just business that got complicated. Business, is that what you call 17 fraudulent insurance claims? You don't understand the pressure I'm under. Harborline expects impossible returns. Everyone's cutting corners. Everyone's not committing federal crimes with their mistress? He flinched at the word mistress. I'll sign anything you want. Divorce papers. Give you the house, the investments. I pulled out the folder I'd been carrying in my oversized clutch. Already drafted. 60-40 split of assets in my favor. Full disclosure of all accounts including offshore. You pay my legal fees, and you forfeit any claim to my pension or future earnings. He stared at the papers. 60-40. That's robbery. No, robbery is what you've been doing for 14 months. This is consequence. And if I don't sign, then the FBI gets the full risk pool folder. including the files you thought you deleted about Phase 2, the plan to embezzle from the Atlas Fund directly. I have those too. Marcus, cloud storage is wonderful when you forget to log out of your Google Drive. His face went gray. You wouldn't. That's 20 to life? Try me. Through the door, Detective Alvarez's voice carried, "Has anyone seen Mr. Hale?" Marcus grabbed the papers, scanning them frantically. "This codicil, what's this about admitting to the insurance fraud? That's your cooperation agreement with the authorities. Sign it. And Alvarez tells the DA you're cooperating. Don't sign it. And I upload everything to the Wall Street Journal in." I checked my phone, 4 minutes. "You planned all this." His voice held a note of something like admiration mixed with horror. "Every detail. I learned from the best. You taught me about leverage. Remember that weekend in the Hamptons when you explained hostile takeovers?" He laughed bitterly. "I created my own corporate raider. You created a woman with nothing left to lose and everything to prove?" Marcus picked up the Mont Blanc pen from the conference table, probably worth more than most people's monthly salary. His hand shook as he signed the divorce papers, then the cooperation agreement. Each signature looked like it physically hurt him. "Lydia," he said suddenly. "She didn't know everything. The deeper embezzlement plans, I kept those from her. Still trying to protect her. She has a daughter, 8 years old. I don't want..." "Then she should have thought about that before helping you steal $800,000. I gathered the signed documents, texting photos to my lawyer and Detective Alvarez immediately. "Your cooperation might help her get a lighter sentence. That's the best you can offer now." Marcus slumped in the chair, looking older than his 36 years. "How long have you known? 6 days? Since the night you were supposedly at Tommy's watching the game?" 6 days. He shook his head. "And you just pretended, made me breakfast, kissed me goodbye. The same way you pretended for 6 months, except my performance had a finale." Alvarez knocked on the door. "Mr. Hale, we need you to come with us now." Marcus stood, straightening his tuxedo one last time. At the door, he turned back. "For what it's worth, I did love you. Once." "Once isn't enough. Marcus, it never was." Alvarez entered with another officer. As they guided Marcus out, he maintained his posture, still trying to project dignity to any watching cameras. But I saw the tremor in his hands, the hollow look that comes when you realize your carefully constructed life is gone. Through the conference room windows, I watched them lead him through the ballroom. The crowd parted like the Red Sea, phones raised, capturing his perp walk in high definition. Lydia was already gone, escorted out the back. Warren Gladstone stood near the bar, downing whiskey like water, his phone pressed to his ear damage control that would last weeks. My phone buzzed. A text from my lawyer. "Documents received. Filing tomorrow at 9 a.m. 9 a.m. In 12 hours, the marriage would be officially over. The criminal case would take longer, but Marcus's signed confession would accelerate things. By my calculation, he'd be processed, arraigned, and released on bail by midnight if he could make bail after Harborline inevitably fired him within the hour. I walked back into the ballroom, heads turning to follow my movement. Some faces showed pity, others admiration, a few disgust. I didn't care about any of them. Detective Alvarez gave a subtle signal from across the ballroom. The search warrants had been executed. I watched through the floor-to-ceiling windows as 3 black SUVs pulled up outside Harborline Capital's building across the street. FBI agents streaming through the doors. The office lights blazed to life floor by floor, a vertical timeline of the investigation's progress. Warren Gladstone approached me, his face carefully neutral, a businessman calculating damage. "Mrs. Hart, that was quite a presentation." The truth usually is. "The board will need your full cooperation. Every document, every communication." "Already arranged." "Detective Alvarez has everything." He nodded slowly, then leaned closer. "You could have come to me privately. We would have handled this internally, compensated you appropriately." "Compensated me for my husband's crimes. That sounds like you knew something about them. Mr. Gladstone. He stepped back quickly. I'm simply saying this could have been handled more. Discreetly. Discreetly. Like Marcus handled his fraud. Like Lydia handled her shell companies. I picked up a champagne flute from a passing server. No. Mr. Gladstone. Your firm traded on trust and transparency. The market deserved to see what was really happening behind your glass walls. Across the room, the MC stood frozen at the podium, clearly unsure how to proceed with the evening's agenda. The head of Harborline's PR team was gesturing frantically, trying to salvage something from the wreckage. My phone vibrated. An email from Marcus's personal account, sent from his phone. 2 words. I'm sorry. I deleted it without responding and looked back at the Harborline building. The FBI agents were now on Marcus's floor, their flashlights creating a light show in his corner office. They'd find the backup drives he thought he'd hidden, the second laptop in his locked drawer, the burner phone he used for Brennan. The MC finally found his voice. Ladies and gentlemen, due to unexpected circumstances, we'll be concluding tonight's program early. But no one was leaving. This was better than any scheduled entertainment, a real-time collapse of one of Boston's golden couples, complete with fraud, adultery, and federal agents. The charity auction was forgotten. Tomorrow's headlines were being written in real time through Twitter feeds and financial blogs. A woman I vaguely recognized from corporate events approached Diane something, married to another Harborline partner. That was incredibly brave, she said quietly, then even quieter. I wish I'd had your courage 3 years ago. Before I could ask what she meant, she disappeared into the crowd. How many others, I wondered, had suspected something but kept quiet? How many little corruptions were hidden behind these polished facades? The presentation screen still glowed behind the abandoned podium. Someone had forgotten to turn it off, leaving the final slide visible. How many clients' funds were next? I walked to the AV booth and handed the technician another USB drive. Can you put this up? He looked nervous but complied. The screen changed to a single document, Marcus's resignation letter, effective immediately, which I'd drafted that afternoon. At the bottom, his signature from the cooperation agreement, digitally transferred. The room erupted. Phones appeared like weapons drawn. Everyone racing to be first with the news. The resignation would tank Harborline's stock at market open. Clients would flee. The SEC would investigate every transaction for the past 2 years. I'd just torched a $4 billion firm with a USB drive. That wasn't necessary, Gladstone said, his controlled facade finally cracking. You've destroyed hundreds of innocent employees' livelihoods. Marcus destroyed them when he chose to commit fraud under your company's banner. I just refused to let it stay hidden. I set down my champagne, untouched. Your employees will find other jobs. Your clients will find other firms. Marcus's victims, the real ones, deserve justice more than you deserve protection. My phone rang. Sandra Vega, the forensic accountant. Riley, I'm watching the news. They're already calling it the Harborline scandal. You did it. We did it, I corrected. Send your final report to Detective Alvarez tonight. I want everything documented before Marcus's lawyers try to spin this. Already done. And Riley Marrow Consultancy's accounts were frozen 40 minutes ago. Lydia won't be accessing that money. One small victory in a war nobody really wins. The ballroom was emptying now, guests fleeing the sinking ship of association. Tomorrow, they'd all claim they barely knew Marcus, had always suspected something was off, were shocked at the revelations. I gathered my wrap. The GPS tracker still sewn into its hem, unnecessary now, but I'd keep it as a reminder of the week I'd spent becoming someone Marcus never thought I could be: methodical, ruthless, playing 3 moves ahead. Detective Alvarez met me at the exit. The judge signed off on freezing all of Marcus's known accounts. His passport's been flagged. He's not going anywhere. What about Lydia? Full confession in the car. She's trying to claim Marcus manipulated her, that she didn't know the full scope. She knew enough. Alvarez nodded. The ADA agrees. She's looking at 3 to 5 if she continues cooperating. And Marcus, with his signed confession and the evidence you provided, 8 to 12. Minimum. More if we find what we think we'll find in those offices. 8 to 12 years. When he got out, he'd be nearly 50, unemployable in finance. His reputation a cautionary tale told at business schools. Complete destruction, delivered in public, exactly as planned. Thank you, Detective, for believing me, for waiting. Thank you for doing the hard part. Most spouses would have just taken the money and run. I'm not most spouses. I walked out of the Bellwater Hotel into the October night. Behind me, through the glass doors, I could see the staff beginning to clean up stacking chairs, collecting abandoned champagne flutes, pulling down the Harbor Line Capitol banner that had welcomed guests just 3 hours ago. The October air outside the Bellwater carried the scent of approaching winter, sharp, clean, honest. My heels clicked against the pavement in a rhythm that felt like freedom. Behind me, emergency lights painted the hotel facade in reds and blues, the last police cruisers preparing to leave with their evidence boxes. My phone buzzed continuously, messages from friends, colleagues, numbers I didn't recognize, all wanting to know if I was okay, if I needed anything, if the news was true. I silenced it without reading them. Tomorrow would be soon enough for sympathy and explanations. At 11:43 p.m., a notification cut through my Do Not Disturb settings. Electronic filing confirmed. Hart v. Hale divorce proceedings initiated. Assets frozen pending distribution. It was done. 7 years dissolved into legal documentation. Another alert. Search warrant execution complete. 17 boxes of evidence recovered from Harbor Line Capitol offices. Then another. Magnus Hale bail hearing scheduled 9 a.m. Monday. I deleted Marcus's name from my emergency contacts, from my favorites, from my life. Such a small gesture that felt monumental, the final edit in my revision of reality. The valet brought my car around, not the Mercedes Marcus had insisted I drive for appearances, but my old Honda, reliable and mine alone. I'd taken it out of storage this morning, knowing I'd want something untainted by his influence for this drive. The city scrolled past my windows restaurants where we'd celebrated anniversaries that meant nothing. The gym where he'd claimed to spend mornings while meeting Lydia. Our favorite coffee shop that would now be just another Starbucks to avoid. Every landmark of our marriage had become evidence in a case file. At a red light. I finally looked at one message, from Detective Alvarez. Brennan just gave us 3 more names. This is bigger than we thought. Your evidence cracked open something massive. 3 more names, more fake victims, more fraudulent claims, more people willing to destroy lives for money. Marcus hadn't invented this scheme, he'd joined an existing ecosystem of corruption. My personal revenge had become something larger, a catalyst for justice I hadn't anticipated. I pulled into my driveway at 12:21 a.m. The house stood dark except for the timer lights I'd set this morning, knowing I'd return to an empty home, our home, soon to be my home. According to the divorce settlement Marcus had signed, inside, everything remained unchanged, yet felt foreign. Wedding photos still lined the hallway. I'd take those down tomorrow. Marcus's coffee mug sat in the sink from this morning, when he'd kissed my cheek and promised to make the gala unforgettable. Promise kept, in ways he'd never intended. I climbed the stairs to what had been our bedroom, now just a room with a bed. Marcus's closet stood open, his tuxedos and suits hanging like abandoned costumes. By court order, he couldn't return for them without supervision. They'd hang there until I decided what to do with them, donate them. Probably. Let someone else wear his ambitions. My laptop waited on the nightstand. I opened it one final time tonight, not for evidence or investigation, but for myself. A blank document stared back, cursor blinking. Day 1, I typed. I am Riley Hart, just Riley Hart, not a wife, not a victim, not a fool who believed in the wrong man. I am an accountant of justice who balanced the books and found them wanting. Today I ended a marriage, exposed a criminal enterprise, and destroyed a man who thought I was a temporary encumbrance. I stopped typing, saved the document in a new folder labeled After. There would be more entries through the trial, the divorce finalization, the rebuilding. But tonight, this was enough. My wedding ring sat in the jewelry box where I'd placed it this morning, before putting on the Valentino dress, before becoming the avenging angel Marcus never saw coming. I picked it up, feeling its weight one last time. Tomorrow I'd sell it, donate the proceeds to victims of white-collar crime, turn his symbol of possession into someone else's restitution. Through the bedroom window, the city lights sparkled with indifferent beauty. Somewhere out there, Marcus was being processed, fingerprinted, reduced to a case number. Lydia was probably calling lawyers, trying to salvage something from the wreckage. Gladstone was in crisis meetings, watching his firm's reputation dissolve in real time. And I was here, alone but not lonely, broken but not defeated, standing at the exact point where ending meets beginning. I closed my eyes and let the silence settle around me like armor. Tomorrow would bring lawyers, reporters, testimonies, and the exhausting machinery of justice. But tonight, in this moment between what was and what would be, I allowed myself one small smile. Marcus had been right about one thing. The gala had changed everything. He just hadn't realized the revolution would be wearing Valentino and carrying evidence files instead of evening gloves. The clock on the nightstand clicked over to 1 a.m. Day one of my life without Marcus had officially begun. I was ready for it. Thank you so much for listening to this story of calculated revenge and ultimate justice. I'd love to know where in the world you're listening from. Drop a comment below and let's connect. If this tale of betrayal and retribution resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts. What would you have done in Riley's position? Your perspectives make these stories come alive in new ways.